Good evening, sir.
This is episode 81 of the Beef and Bitcoin podcast with your host, Brett and CH. Today's topics, got another great show for you guys. This time, hopefully our microphones are working well and I won't have to try to mess around with all the sound settings, but I think we got it sorted out. This is definitely going to be one of my favorite episodes. Startup bubbles finally bursting, and we're going to talk about all the scooter situations, Bird, Lime, Uber, Airbnb. I mean, the whole thing's a mess. Unemployment's skyrocketing, going off the charts. We saw 3.28 million jobless claims just last week, so we'll touch on that and how this whole thing feeds into the startup bubble bursting, and then going into commercial real estate. That's something you and I have been talking about for a long time now, and it looks like that's finally starting to play out here. And last but not least, talking about malinvestment, your favorite exchange, Binance, acquired CoinMarketCap, and it looks like they're going to acquire them for like $400 million. I thought that was just hysterical. I had to throw it in as a topic so we can riff on it for a little bit. But how you been, man?
I'm doing good. It's times are interesting. I was at the grocery store today, and one thing of eggs per person. You never think you experienced that in 2020, rationing of food. Times are definitely interesting. It's going to be interesting. I did buy a lot of meat today. I bought a lot of food, I figured, because I think people are just going to panic more as it becomes more and more apparent that this isn't we're going to be inside for 2 weeks. More like it could be like 12 weeks or 24 weeks. Who knows? I'm not here to guess. I don't even like speculating on it anymore because it's a grave reality that I've already faced for a while now, but now it's real as fuck. So, yeah. It's
It's out of control for sure, and everybody's just getting used to. I don't like calling it the new normal, but
it is.
It seems like we're going to be hanging out for a little while here.
Dude, it's our 9/11. It's literally.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So let's jump into this startup bubble. You and I have definitely talked about this in 2019 when Jesse Colombo was kind of banging this drum about all the startups, ton of malinvestment. They don't make any money. They're just, hopes and dreams, essentially. Not that they're not great products. It's just they don't make any money. And now it looks like it's finally starting to ripple back into the economy thanks to the coronavirus acting as the pin to burst the bubble. One example of this that I came across was OneWeb, which is an internet satellite company who SoftBank is essentially just going to let file for bankruptcy. They had raised $3.4 billion in capital, and SoftBank was their largest shareholder. And SoftBank has decided, well, looks like we're not going to bail you out essentially a second time here because they pumped in billions already and nothing really came of it. And now you have the coronavirus outbreak essentially slowing the economy to a complete halt. And we saw this same thing with WeWork, right? I mean, WeWork was just a ridiculous startup. I mean, I understand the thought process behind something like WeWork, but you can just tell something like that doesn't scale and it's not going to make any money. And now you're having all of the startups that were, taking office space in WeWork are going and filing for bankruptcy anyway. So it's not like anybody's actually going to be renting anything from WeWork, especially when you're not allowed to leave your home. Another thing I wanted to talk about were a lot of the scooter companies. So Lime and Bird, if you're anywhere near a major city, you've probably ridden one of these things. And while they're definitely fun and great for that last mile, it doesn't look so hot if you're Lime or Bird right now. Lime is pulled out and shut down all their operations except for South Korea right now, which is pretty interesting. Bird went and laid off 30% of their employees due to coronavirus uncertainty, and that's around 400 people, so a half decent amount. And Lime is trying to raise emergency funds at a valuation of $400 million compared to $2.4 billion last year. I mean, just insane how quickly the valuation of Lime went from in the billions to basically $500 million. And it looks like Lime only has between 50 and 70 million of cash left over to ride this thing out. So I don't know what their burn rate is on a monthly basis, but I can imagine they burn through this pretty quickly. So What do you think? Do you think startups are going to use the coronavirus as the reason for their inevitable failure?
Yeah, everyone is. Everyone's using it as their excuse for failure. It's everyone. It's not just Lime and Bird. And again, as you said, they're not good products. They're very fun. They're useful scooters. They're great, as you said, going that last mile. You get off at a train station, a bus stop, etc. And here your Lime scooter is, and you can ride it the last half mile or 500 yards. It's perfect. It's fun, and it's cheap per se. It's a few bucks, and it's fun. But we're gonna look at these things in like 5-10 years when they don't exist, because they won't. And here they are plummeting to zero, because who could have foreseen a global pandemic? And you can argue what you want at this point, but that is what it is. I mean, and we are apparently at 932,605 confirmed cases now. The chart's getting pretty ridiculous. I don't know where this ends. Obviously, we're going to cross 1 million probably tomorrow. We're going up a lot per day now. It's like 6 figures a day now. So we're going to get 1 million day too soon. This just as well as I do. It's exponential numbers, man. And even though a lot of people have slowed down, this has been spreading for 10 weeks. And that's hard for a lot of people to comprehend, especially since the incubation period is 14 days. So going back to my point, is the Lime and Bird situation. Who are they to suspect that the global economy would come to a complete screeching halt? Literally, as I've mentioned before, I don't know if I mentioned last podcast, a World War III happening would have less of an effect. It would be bad. There'd be people dead. But at least in certain parts of the world, economies would still continue. For example, in World War II, people in the U.S. were still working. Obviously, young males went to go serve abroad and die. A lot of them did. And there was older males, but really the majority of it was, kids from 18 to 30, So, but and as bad as that was, economy still continued. We didn't shut down. The whole globe has basically come to a standstill. There's not one place on this map that isn't touched. Fucking Greenland. Greenland has cases. So, you're not, nowhere, it's spread everywhere. So that just tells you, it was spreading for a while. It was just spreading under the radar for a while. Everyone blew it off, and here we are where the whole global economy just got destroyed, and no amount of money printing is going to save the fact that nobody's working right now. And if people aren't producing shit, then no amount of money, you're just going to toss at it. It's just going to become basically Weimar Republic, 1921, 22, 23, just people with wheelbarrows of cash. Is that where we're heading? Granted, it'll probably be digital cash at this point, but it's not good. It's not good.
Do you, when you think about this, do you see any of these startups that we've talked about surviving? And if so, which kind of niche, which vertical do you see one surviving? So, the reason I bring this up is because we think about the .com crash. eBay survived, Amazon survived, Apple survived. There were a handful that ended up making it and not folding. Do any of these seem like they would stick around? If I had to pick one, I'd say, let's say Uber can raise enough money again sometime during this, they could make it, or I could see a ride sharing company make it. Maybe it's Lyft actually. I don't know, but I can see one ride sharing company making it through this. But other than that, I have a difficult time trying to see what ends up surviving. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I have a tough time seeing things like even Lyft or Uber surviving if this is the climate for weeks, if not months at end. Just think about the Uber drivers. People need to drive these cars. The people who aren't making money right now are in a serious pinch. If you're an Uber driver and you make good money, you're in a serious pinch all of a sudden.
Right.
Think about it. Because people who work in cities where you get surge rates, etc., now you get no surge probably, and no one's going around. Who wants to get in an Uber at this point? No one's getting Ubers in New York City, man. Apparently people are saying tanks are rolling down streets. I haven't seen videos. I want to see videos, but that's I kind of want to re-download Snapchat right now so I can go Snapchat you can click on the map and see the stories. I kind of want to do that because people were talking about during hurricanes and stuff, and I remember this. It was so true. If you want to see what was going on, you just click on the Snapchat map where the hurricane was.
Right.
Dude,
no, that's a good point.
It was better than anything else, dude. It was crazy how that worked. That's probably bullish Snapchat by the bottom, probably, right? Even though they don't make money.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not investment advice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, everybody should know this podcast is obviously for entertainment purposes only. We're just a bunch of assholes who like to talk about recessions and digital cash. But I think you definitely nailed it with you think about all those Uber drivers. What are they going to do right now? And that brings us into the next topic, talking about unemployment numbers and how that really jumped in the last week. One of the Bloomberg articles I saw that the jobless claims jumped to 3.28 million last week, and that was 4 times the prior record. The majority of the U.S. economy is driven by consumerism, right? So restaurants and retail are the 2 things that come to my mind. And when everyone is under quarantine or under a shelter in place, you don't do very much shopping from a retail standpoint, and nobody's going out to eat. I went to pick up food the other day, and I wanted to ask. I was like, "Hey, how's business been? Are people ordering? Are they still keeping up with that, or is it just really slow?" And they were like, "It's really hit or miss." They had like packed up all the tables, moved everything around, so they're maybe getting. I'd say less than half of the takeout orders, and then all of their dine-in orders are completely done. And that is, obviously that's going to be a high driver for the unemployment rate, right? You have all those service workers and retail workers who were told to basically stay home, whether that be Macy's or anything else. All those people need to go file for unemployment. But when I think about that, I think about all the massive implications for commercial real estate. And I think I had sent this to you the other day when Cheesecake Factory was pretty much like, yeah, we're not going to pay rent on April 1st. And that's when it kind of hit me like, okay, the commercial real estate might have its own issues. What else did I see on unemployment? St. Louis Fed projected 32.1% peak unemployment, and the Great Depression was around 24.9%. That's massive. So I don't know. $1,200 stimulus check, not going to do anything, is it?
No, it's nothing, dude. It's like less than people's rent. It's incredible. It's a joke. And again, they're doing it. They're giving people $1,200 so they can just throw billions, if not trillions, to bail out companies that are over-levered, because everyone is. And then you think about like how many restaurants and small businesses are completely screwed. I mean, like a month, 2 months, 3 months of no revenue. It's bad. Like, and I think about, for me, like I do jiu-jitsu, and like a lot of jiu-jitsu schools are going to feel the pinch. And I feel terrible because you can't bail out every jiu-jitsu school. Like it's sad. Like, and you think about all those types of small businesses, around the country. I mean, you can't bail out all these people.
Right. I mean,
it's a lot of people, and now it's like, we kind of laugh about it, but it's like it's serious. It's kind of like, and I think about the Big Short, when you see Brad Pitt, who's I can't even think of his name right now in the movie, but Brad Pitt is like, this is serious, and people are going to die, and that's like what we're facing now, and it's like, I didn't foresee this fucking coming a year ago. I was like, something's going to happen. Like, somebody's going to be the axe to the end of this. This is going to be the end. And this is what we get, a global pandemic.
I was telling my buddy the other day, or my coworker, I said, if you would have told me 1 year ago that within 45 days of the halving, and we'd have a global pandemic, everyone would be locked in their homes, and central banks across the globe would be printing trillions and trillions of dollars almost on a daily basis, I wouldn't have believed you, right? That's like the most insane thing anyone could ever say. And here we are now, a year later, and everyone's world has pretty much been turned upside down. I mean, completely.
Yeah, you could say everyone. It's ridiculous. It's not just me, it's everyone. Everyone's in the same fucking boat, man. Literally doesn't matter. It's everyone. I mean, maybe bar like military, but even then, it's still the same thing. Like, it's incredible. Like, and then you think about, like, dude, I know it's a little off topic, but think about, like, in New York City, I was reading something about, like, over 700 officers are infected. It's like, oh, shit. You think about how many people now have it. Like, there's no way. If an officer gets infected, you think about how many officers are infected, the whole police station's fucked, man. It's like, people don't realize it. People aren't thinking like that. People need to think like that. Just, once one person gets infected in a highly, traffic area where people are, close in contact, it's done, man. That's done for. We've seen it so many times. Think about how many times, like, across the globe where we've seen high pocket areas, like highly densely populated, like cruise ships, like other things, like an aircraft carrier right now that I think the Teddy Roosevelt or the Theodore Roosevelt has people infected on it, and the admiral's like asking for peace, like, can we just dock and like disboard the ship for like 2 weeks, because it's like he knows it's gonna become a nightmare. Like, people know.
Right.
Dude.
No, it's insane. It's insane for sure. And when I think about those unemployment numbers, although I realize that they're temporary in the sense that they're manufactured, right? It's not that all these people lost their jobs because of just businesses shutting down. The businesses are forced to be shut down, right? They don't have a choice. They've been told shut down. You're not essential. Whether determining what's essential and what's not is a whole different story, and definitely a problem in itself. But it's almost like forced unemployment. It just happened and hit right away. And I guess I've never seen anything like that before. Where in 2008, I remember people losing their jobs and getting laid off because the companies had to do what they had to do to kind of stick it out. In this scenario, we're being told to close. Like, there's nothing else you can do about it, and that's that.
It's absolutely insane. I'm gonna refresh this page again, and the numbers can go up. And I refreshed it not too long ago, so we're gonna watch this. 932 to. Oh, it didn't move this time. Usually it moves a lot. So, like, every time I refresh this page, usually, what the hell? It went backwards, dude. It went backwards 200,000.
That was weird.
What the hell? Did someone just get removed from the data?
Probably.
Or did they subtract? Did they subtract recoveries? Maybe they did that. I think that's what they did. That's the only thing I can think. Sorry, but we can go ahead and just.
Well, no, I want to transition into commercial real estate, because I think the unemployment increasing, startup bubble bursting, all starts pointing to commercial real estate, right? And it was interesting because they've been talking a lot about Airbnbs, right? And how the Airbnb rental market can be that like straw that broke the camel's back, because you have these Airbnb super hosts who are highly levered, and they have 10, 20, 30 different units that they are like Airbnb arbitraging to rent these things out. And then all of a sudden, everybody stops traveling. So how are you going to pay all the mortgages, all that income you were expecting to have? Or some people were even renting an apartment from a landlord and then not telling them they were going to just Airbnb that out. And, at the same time, there's only about 600,000 or so Airbnb listings. So it's not a massive amount of homes compared to when we're talking about 08 and everybody defaulting. But we're talking a lot of people who are very over levered in this Airbnb market. And then who's going to pay their rents on April 1st? Who's going to pay their rents on May 1st? Not just from a residential standpoint, but from a commercial standpoint.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point where I have no explanation for anyone. It's gotten really bad, and I'm not worried, but I'm like, shit. A lot of people have no clue, because think about people who didn't see this coming. Think about people who just blew this off, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, everything changes. Everything, dude. And now most people I know are just like at home, don't know what to do,
right?
Like, literally. And I'm sitting here like, well, shit. It's like, if you just looked, it was there. It was there. And it's sad, because that's I don't care what like they say. Like, now, like, there's reports that like U.S. intelligence knows that like the Chinese numbers are fake. It's like, no fucking shit. It's like, this has been known for weeks. It's like, like what I texted you today. I'm like, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I looked at the numbers for a few days, and I'm like, this isn't right. Something's not right here. It's like, and that was mid to late January. You and I were talking about this. It's like literally something wasn't right here. It's unfortunate. And then obviously the insider scandal with those U.S. senators didn't look too pretty either. Selling stocks right before they drop 30, 40, 50%.
Yeah, definitely not good optics. And touching on that again, I saw an interesting tweet talking about real estate billionaire Tom Barrack, who was on Bloomberg about a week or so ago. And he was warning of the coming collapse in the commercial real estate market. And now, just the other day, he was calling for a moratorium on margin calls and intervention by the Fed to keep these values propped up, because the value of mortgages are just getting absolutely smoked as everybody knows these defaults are coming. And Tur Demeester posted a really interesting chart about Google search history for can't pay rent, and it just had skyrocketed. It absolutely took off. So you can see, this billionaire real estate investor who's basically saying, we need to stop all these margin calls because I'm getting absolutely wrecked. Like, entire real estate funds can just go to zero and just have to shut down completely. And it's very interesting to watch them calling for more help and to literally directly bail us out.
Yeah, no, this is a situation where people who are liquid and cash are just going to fucking just go fire sale shopping at some point. I mean, I don't think no matter what happens here, I don't think the Fed money is going to do much. And I think the equity market reflected. I mean, they've thrown the kitchen sink at this motherfucker and nothing's happening. Dude, we go down 5%. That's when you realize the Fed has lost all control. And then the other nightmare is the ETF side. And I know you mentioned Airbnb earlier. The Airbnb thing is going to be a disaster. You think about, I don't know if personally, but I've seen people talk about before owning multiple properties for Airbnb. And I know it's not a huge amount of people, but still, that's a lot of properties, and that's a lot of people who even have that source of income just disappears. What's that mean for Airbnb? Are they profitable? I don't know if they are, but
I'm not sure about Airbnb in general. If the marketplace itself is profitable, I would imagine it is so, since it's just a software technology. But it's a good point. When I think about who survives this whole mess that we're in, Airbnb is great. It's fantastic. I've used it a bunch of times. Definitely serves a purpose. But you can see how if you're your friend all of a sudden wants to become a real estate investor and they're making a ton of money doing Airbnb arbitrage, it's too easy, right? That doesn't last forever. And everybody was watching HGTV from 2009 until last month, pretending to be a real estate investor, and now you're seeing it basically just come to a screeching halt. I find it fascinating because it's such a good example of that Austrian view of malinvestment, how all of a sudden when things go to shit, you realize the manipulation of interest rates and, getting a mortgage at 3.5% or whatever. You're like, oh, this is a great deal. I can buy this condo in downtown wherever. I'm going to rent it for $200 a night and have a 95% occupancy rating, and it'll cover the mortgage and my profit and, taxes and whatever else. And then all of a sudden, that just totally goes away. And now you're like, whoops, the cheap interest rates didn't mean shit, because if that business slows down at all, you're poof, it's done, it's over.
Yeah, but that's every business right now. I think. Right. I think that's a lot of business where everyone's over leveraged, or even if they aren't over leveraged, it's can you deal with 2, 3, 4, how many months of just straight, maybe no revenue for 2 months, but then think about, people aren't going to want to go out after 2 months. Do you think, dude, someone mentioned it perfectly on Twitter, but even when I was out in public, people don't want to be close. I had to go pick something up from the store, and they weren't letting people inside the store. I was wearing a mask, goggles, everything, gloves. And the girl who handed me the stuff, she was wearing a mask too, and it's just funny. It's different, but I was at the grocery store today, a lot more people wearing masks, a lot more people wearing gloves, and it's how long until everyone's wearing masks? It's not long. We're hitting the S-curve period of adoption. Another week or two, everyone's going to be wearing some form of mask, scarf, something, t-shirt over their mouth. It's inevitable.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that that flows in. No, but you make a good point to talk about. Okay, let's say this ends tomorrow and everyone says, "Oh, virus is cleared. We have a cure. Anybody can get it. Everybody's good to go." How long does it take before people actually get comfortable going back out again, even going out to eat? It takes a long time for that to work itself out, and I think I'm saving this for another episode to talk about just kind of auto loans and just the car industry in general. But it doesn't mean tomorrow that you're going to go out and buy your car or whatever, or just spend money. A lot of people, I saw a poll with, what are you going to do with the $1,200 that you're getting from the government? A lot of people are like, I'm just going to buy the necessities. No one's going to go and spend it on the, consumerist bullshit that they were getting a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's definitely a different time, and it's going to get very interesting here shortly. I have no idea how bad this can get because, again, I was still pretty young in 2008, 2009, but that was different. That wasn't a global pandemic. People could still go out and spend money. People who had money could still go out and travel. There's nothing. And I've noticed by me, because there's an airport, you can usually hear planes taking off during the day and obviously morning and at night. And it's a lot less.
No, that's a good point. It's just everything slows down, and it's something that I don't think anyone has ever seen. No. And to compare it to 2008 it's interesting because
it's not the same.
As it's not the same, and as bad as it was, the people who could still go out and spend and do things and run their businesses, that never stopped. And people had to work very hard to get through that time period. And now you can't work any harder to try to get through this period. You're kind of handcuffed unless you have a job where you can work remotely and that it's relatively unaffected by a global pandemic. I consider yourself pretty fortunate. I fall into that category, and it's very convenient at the moment, but not everybody is that lucky in this sense. So I think it makes it very, very interesting that I hate saying this time it's different, but it really is different this time. That's for sure.
Dude, no planes in Africa. I mean, I know it's nighttime, but just nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Everything slows down.
I mean, maybe there's military aircraft but flying, nap the earth, but fuck, dude. Nothing. Oh, jeez. And then they go to Russia. Russia's, I'm pretty sure, stopping their flights very shortly. These might be cargo aircraft. That might be it. But I'm pretty sure they're commercial, in charter flights, which I assume charter might fall under private, done. The U.S., though, dude, and this is what I mean. Sure, this is heading to complete, totalitarian, scary shit. I don't like it, but, this can't continue. This can't continue. I assume this virus is real. I personally haven't been infected, I assume, yet. But still, this amount of planes flying in and around the U.S. Oh, we're just safe within our borders. We have the most confirmed cases. People are going to wake up here for a second and realize that this has to stop. It has to, at least for a month, if not more, until we figure out what the fuck is going on here, because this amount of planes flying around is just going to keep spreading it everywhere. And so, you stop it, you think you stop it, but it's not good.
Right.
We're the only country doing this, too. It's not even close. I mean, China maybe, but it's not even close. China doesn't even have as many. Because China started reinfecting everyone because they're like, oh, this isn't working. I mean, it's still a lot of aircraft, but not as much as the U.S. And they have a lot more people.
Right.
So.
Why don't we jump into the last topic here? Binance acquiring your favorite website, CoinMarketCap. So I don't know. The malinvestment continues, in my opinion. I find it pretty hysterical and just proof of how big the bubble really got. And, I'm very guilty of this. I'm sure you are too. We spent way too much time hitting the refresh button on CoinMarketCap in 2017.
Dude, the days, dude, the percent's climbing and dropping, refreshing, looking at the market cap go up by billions, and you're like, oh, crossing the 300 billion line. It's insanity.
Yeah, I mean, just complete insanity. But I thought this was an interesting acquisition because some of these crypto and Bitcoin companies are doing okay, right? Their business is totally digital. There's demand with, now that this volatility has picked back up, there's demand in the marketplace, and Binance is still going on and acquiring whoever they can. I didn't realize that CoinMarketCap had made so much money in advertising revenue in 2017. I heard over 100 million, which blows my mind for basically a shitty web page that puts ticker symbols on for Ponzi schemes.
Dude,
I mean,
that's fucking crushing you. I don't care what you say. They're fucking crushing. It's a website, and they just 100 million. That's ridiculous, dude.
It's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable, man. Dude, think about how much maintenance they have. Nothing, dude. Like what? One dude probably runs it.
I heard it was like 10 people. And
okay,
I mean, probably 10 people once they scaled up, but I mean, still, that's
okay. So you're taking
those are some crazy margins.
Yeah, no, your margins are probably ridiculous, dude. Each person's chilling.
So they had apparently over 200 million visitors in the last 6 months, and that blows my mind. I didn't realize it could be that many people, but I'm curious to what you think. Why do you think Binance acquired CoinMarketCap or were interested in buying them?
That's a good question. I haven't looked at CoinMarketCap, dude. The only time I look at it is like you and I talked, and so it's been a while, dude. A handful of times in the last year. But the only thing I can think is, you just want the block. Sorry, but if you're watching on YouTube, you understand they just spam my page. But they, the only thing I can think is they just want it, that to be their platform is like sharing all the real coins. Maybe they remove all the coins that don't exist and just put their coins in. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I was thinking. I think Binance gets around 100 million visitors or so. So if you own CoinMarketCap and you're getting 200 million visitors every 6 months, yeah, you can start pushing them to your platform.
You click on like XRP and it probably takes you right to the Binance page and hooks you up to like 50x margin. It's just a fly.
Right.
Oh, dude, that would be. Sorry.
That's the only thing I can think of why you'd want to buy CoinMarketCap. I'm surprised at the size of the deal. Totally surprised by the size of the deal. But I guess if you're going to keep it for the advertising revenue and you can push more people to your exchange, I guess it's a good acquisition. I'm just shocked that you would pay so much for CoinMarketCap.
Dude, I mean, he's pretty smart, dude. Think about he was nothing. And then Binance came out, second half, 2017, excuse me. And they were basically became the number one place by December 2019. I mean, there was 2017, excuse me, December 2017. In less than 6 months, dude. It was like 5 months. They were the number one exchange. There was no way around it. Everyone wanted to be on Binance. They had everything, and their platform worked. So, I mean, there's no way around it. And then obviously, things peaked and things changed, but still. I mean, they took the number one spot in 6 months. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, yeah. And this could be I don't mean to cut you off there, but this could be a huge move in the sense that, like, people being trapped inside have nothing better to do than look at fucking shitcoins now that everyone's talking about a digital dollar. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I didn't, it had crossed my mind that what are you going to do if you're stuck inside? Maybe you'll hop on Binance and mess around and do a little bit of trading. So I guess it makes sense. I wonder if they were thinking about acquiring CoinMarketCap prior to the whole coronavirus thing, but I'm really not sure.
Let's see. I'm looking at the Google Trends chart for Bitcoin. I mean, look at that, dude. Look at that. It's a rise. It's not
right.
Is that parabola time? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Bitcoin moved a little bit here in the last 2 or 3 hours. That was, I guess, unexpected, but now I always expect the unexpected with Bitcoin. So there's that. But I don't know. It was this was definitely an interesting week. I thought it was important to touch on the startup bubble kind of unraveling at the seams here. Commercial real estate feeling so toppy, and just the unemployment claims are. I can't imagine it's going to get much better from here. I can only imagine it definitely getting worse before it does start to get better and the economy opens itself back up whenever that would be. But I don't know. I feel like we're in for a wild ride. It's finally April 1st here, so yeah. Let's see what April has in store for us.
Yeah, it was a good one, man.
Yeah. Well, this was episode 81 of the Beef and Bitcoin podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate all the new extra YouTube views we've been getting. Definitely appreciate that. Make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Shoot us a DM. Let us know what you want us to talk about, especially if you're under quarantine. I'm sure you wouldn't mind a little extra content these days if you don't have anything else going on for you. But yeah, stay safe out there. Peace.
Peace.